Hello Amanda, and welcome to Decoration Design.
Hi, thank you.
So you recently just spoke at Decoration Design about your new book, Rethink the Way You Live, and one of the concepts I noticed you spoke about is design is no longer about the individual but considering the wider community. You travel quite a lot around the world and visited Mavericks in France, UK, Tokyo. What was one of the key global trends that you noticed, across all of these countries that's happening now?
Yeah, I think self-sufficient living is a really interesting one. I think it's a more a newer concept to look at within the design industry, and with self-sufficient, it stems from the rooftops inside our own homes to where we're seeing aquaponics to where we're seeing just like little mini gardens growing on walls, and yeah, our kitchen turning into the farm, which is quite exciting.
And so this is sort of happening now that you see around the world, but we're also going to see this happening more in developments, you think? Where people are thinking about it on a grand scale as far as apartment blocks and things like that?
I think this definitely needs to be the future. I don't know how far we are from that at the moment, but that's something that I really want to push and I really believe in, is that developments need to be considering these things for the residents who are living inside.
So you also spoke like we can fulfill people's needs and desires when we understand what they are and who they are and their lifestyles and their needs. With this statement, what do you actually mean by that, and how can interior designers implement this into their work with their clients?
Basically, they just really need to understand who their client is, what their values are, and what their rituals are in their homes, to where they bonk their keys down when they first walk indoors, when they get home, to when they go to bed, to even when they're cleaning. Like, they need to ask these questions. I know they're time-consuming questions, but they're things that they need to understand. And once they do that, then they can understand the bigger picture for the design process.
Amazing. You mentioned that by 2040 we'll have 70% of people living in cities, and this urban sprawl is just going to continue to get bigger and bigger. What sort of changes do we need to be making now to our interiors, even from an interior designer just to personal people living in their own homes?
My thing is, it's about nesting, it's about multifunctional furniture, it's about furniture that can fit, move, hold storage. There needs to be doing things more than just one. So say a table should be a table and maybe a light, and also something that you could store some books or something as well. So it's kind of like trying to all into one piece of furniture. So it's just like thinking sort of how can we use things more than just the one item.
So transforming objects to multiple purpose.
Exactly, so transforming objects so they have all these multi-uses to them.
Okay, and you spoke about getting back to basics and this simplicity now, and we've seen it a bit, as far as, getting rid of a lot of things in our interiors and making them really clean and almost minimalist. But this is more than that, isn't it, when you're talking about simplicity?
Yeah, simplicity isn't about being minimal and cold and harsh. It's about a warmth, it's about connecting back to the handmade, to the nostalgic. It's about really just going back to the good life, I guess.
And also with downsizing and ever-changing spaces, that was a really interesting concept. Can you sort of speak a bit more about that?
So one of the big trends that we're happening, like you were saying, about 70% of the world population will be in urban cities, which means basically our land prices go up, which means that our homes become smaller. So because of that, we're going to be looking at people living in small spaces. And so what we need to do is look at how rooms can be, again, multifunctional, and we need things where things move around. So in Japan we showed a home called the Switch House, which actually a girl designed the home, so it was one room which actually where the wall would move and suddenly it would become a library and a study, and then she'd move the wall again and it would become her dining room, and the lights were on track so she could move the lights around and adjust to where she wanted to sit and read.
And you say in your speech as well that it's not just Japan, it's happening everywhere. In Australia, I guess it's hard for us to grasp that concept because we think we've got so much space, but Sydney is already seeing these changes.
Sydney's already doing it. So in one of the places that I visited and talked about in the talk, there was a place in Potts Point, and there was a family of three, a husband, wife and a little girl, and they were in a studio apartment, and they had to be very clever where they basically, when you walked in, it felt like it was just a normal apartment, very cool, very swish, but then when you started to look, you could pull out a drawer and suddenly a whole master bed would come out. And then you still go around the corner and then there'd be like a little kid's bedroom. But it's just, yeah, these things are really happening here in Sydney now. Sydney's one of the most expensive cities in the world, and so people are having to come up with ingenious ideas how to live well.
And what are some of these sort of changes that you've seen that you're making in your own home?
Yeah, so my thing is, well, so I'm living in a small space, I'm living in an apartment, so one of the things that I'm really looking at is a connection to nature is very important to me. At the moment I don't have moving walls, but storage is incredibly important to me, and it's about editing, it's about the items that I'm buying. I'm really considering what I'm purchasing. I think considered consumption is becoming a really important thing, and that's definitely something I'm doing at home.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Amanda.
Okay, thank you.